All right, let's jump right in. We're skipping the fluffy intro today to crack open something really fascinating. The blueprint of engagement, decoding the elite Physics 9702 script. We are going to break down exactly how a master scriptwriter architects a 20-minute learning experience that literally holds your attention hostage. It's wild. Let's get straight into the mechanics of how they pull this off. So imagine hearing this right off the bat. Can you spot the tiny mistake that just cost you an A-star in physics? That is what the source material calls the 15-second hyperhook. There's no hi, welcome back. Instead, you get a cold open mistake. Boom. Within 3 seconds, you're hit with an exam-relevant problem. Maybe it's a tricky calculation, maybe a graph, and it exposes a tiny, easy-to-make error before you even know what today's topic is. It establishes instant stakes. Suddenly, you're thinking about lost marks, grade boundaries, or running out of time in the exam. You literally don't have time to be bored because you're instantly worried about your own performance. Now, the documents also outline an alternative hook, which is honestly just as brilliant. It's called the two-student duel. Instead of pointing out one mistake, the script instantly pits a flawed student answer against a perfectly crafted top-band answer. And as a viewer, well, it's human nature. You are forced to pause and predict the winner. By doing this, the script completely hijacks your competitive psychology. You're no longer just sitting back passively watching an explainer. You are actively judging, comparing, and testing your own knowledge against these two examples, all before 15 seconds have even passed.
Okay, moving on to Section 1, Anatomy of Retention, Architecting Escalating Stakes. So you've hooked the viewer, right? But how in the world do you keep them locked in for a full 20 minutes?
Well, let's look at the exact roadmap for that 20-minute escalation. The mathematical precision here is honestly kind of scary. At exactly 15 seconds, they identify that painful learner mistake we just talked about. Then by minute 2, the script rubs a little salt in the wound by pointing out exactly why ordinary revision fails. After that comes the open loop at minute 4. This eventually leads to a huge interactive challenge at minute 13. And finally, an examiner-style correction at 16:30. If the tension drops for even a single moment, the viewer clicks away. Surviving a modern attention span is basically a ruthless mathematical equation. I want to zoom in on that critical 4-minute mark for a second to really define this open loop. The source material dictates that at exactly 4 minutes, the script has to drop a very specific tease. It usually sounds something like this. In a moment, I'll show you the examiner clue that changes the answer completely. But first, you need the framework that makes that clue obvious. Do you see what just happened there? Pure FOMO, fear of missing out. Leaving the explainer now means you miss the ultimate exam secret. You're completely locked in, just waiting for that payoff. Section 2, Engineering Attention, the 4-second visual rule. Because, look, the structural pacing might be brilliant, but if nothing is moving on screen, you're going to zone out. To fix that, the blueprint introduces a relentless mandate known as the 4-second visual rule. In the modern era, 4 seconds without some kind of stimulation is practically an eternity, so every single beat requires a visual pattern interrupt. We're talking kinetic typography flying across the screen, a jarring zoom, a red pen aggressively marking up a physics diagram, a timer counting down, or maybe a sudden split screen. The environment has to be in a state of constant kinetic motion so your brain literally does not have the chance to get distracted. Section 3, Decoding the Content, the Physics 9702 subject engine. Now, all these retention tricks mean absolutely nothing if the actual educational content isn't flawlessly tailored to the syllabus. They use a mandatory 4-step elite answer framework that breaks down the super complex process of answering a high-level physics question into basically an assembly line. Step 1, identify the concepts. Step 2, extract the evidence or data. Step 3, apply scientific reasoning. And finally, Step 4, translate all of that into the exact examiner wording required by the mark scheme. It's not just about knowing the physics. It is about knowing exactly how the examiner wants you to write about the physics. And the script uses this exact framework to guide you right out of that open loop tease from minute 4. And applying that framework is absolutely not a passive experience. Between minutes 13 and 16, the script forces you into a gauntlet of active engagement tactics. You are literally commanded to pause and predict the outcome of an experiment. Then you're hit with a spot the error challenge and a data analysis table. After that, a write-your-own-answer checkpoint, followed immediately by harsh examiner-style feedback. You are no longer just watching an explainer. You're essentially taking a high-pressure mock exam in real time. Section 4, Hacking Session Time, the Unbreakable Binge Loop. Because the ultimate goal isn't just to get you to finish one topic. It's to engineer a transition so seamless you can't help but keep learning. So how do they connect two seemingly completely separate topics? Let's say explainer A covers high-mark exam strategy, and explainer B covers examiner report mistakes and command words. A normal script would just say, hey, thanks for watching, check out this next topic. Boring, right? But a content systems engineer designs explainer A to create an unresolved problem, a massive curiosity gap that can exclusively be solved by watching explainer B. It frames the next piece of content not as a suggestion, but as a mandatory next step to complete your learning cycle. To actually pull this off, the script uses very specific ending hooks. The sources outline two distinct methods. First is the diagnostic cliffhanger. This reveals a hidden underlying cause to the physics problems you just learned about, but flat out refuses to explain it until the next explainer. The second is the winner reveal plus next step unlock. Remember that two-student duel from the very beginning? The outcome is finally resolved here at the end, but it's instantly tied to a brand new urgent concept in the next explainer. You'd basically have to click if you want to survive the next exam question. And right as that psychological hook is set, the script mandates a very specific 20-second end screen dialogue. It has to sound completely natural, but it absolutely must include this exact verbatim phrase. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Ace the Exams, at acexams_IGCSE to excel in your Cambridge examinations. This call to action isn't just tacked on at the end, it's woven seamlessly right into that urgent reason to click to the next topic. And honestly, the level of micromanagement here is stunning. It's not just the words. The visual architecture of the end screen is totally optimized. Step 1. That crucial next explainer is positioned directly on the left. Step 2. The subscribe button is on the right. Step 3. Lower third text pops up to reinforce the stakes. And Step 4. A progress arrow visually funnels your eyes right toward that next thumbnail. Every single pixel is meticulously designed to push you right back into that binge loop. So, we've just decoded a literal masterclass in educational retention and psychological pacing. It really makes you look at the way information is presented in a completely different light, doesn't it? So I'm going to leave you with this provocative thought as we wrap up today. If your current study material, or maybe even the content you're creating yourself, doesn't raise the stakes every 2 minutes, interrupt your visual patterns every 4 seconds, and force you into active, high-pressure engagement, is it actually teaching you anything at all? Definitely something to think about next time you sit down to learn.